Imagine being a queen, draped in velvet, crowned with jewels, your every word a command, yet one whispered secret, one forbidden glance, could send you to a cold dungeon or worse. Love, the thing poets sing about, was a deadly trap for medieval queens. Their hearts led them to betrayal, and the consequences? Absolutely horrific. From scandalous affairs that rocked kingdoms to punishments that'll make your skin crawl, we're diving into the tragic stories of queens who dared to love and paid the ultimate price. Stick with me, because these tales of passion and peril will leave you speechless. What's the most shocking betrayal you've ever heard of? Drop it in the comments, and let's get this royal drama started. Let's step into the glittering yet treacherous world of medieval courts, where love was a game of thrones with no winners. First up, meet Eleanor of Aquitaine, one of the most powerful women of the 12th century. She was Queen of France, then England, a woman who owned half of Europe's wealth. But her heart? That belonged to Henry Plantagenet, a dashing young noble who wasn't her husband. Eleanor was married to King Louis VII of France, a pious man who bored her senseless. When she met Henry, sparks flew. Think medieval power couple with a side of scandal. She divorced Louis, a move that shocked the church, and married Henry, becoming Queen of England. But love wasn't all roses. Henry's wandering eye and fiery temper turned their marriage into a battlefield. Eleanor, betrayed by the man she risked everything for, was locked in a castle for 16 years. 16 years. Imagine going from ruling empires to pacing a stone cell, all because you followed your heart. Could you endure that kind of betrayal? Share your thoughts below. I'm curious. Now, let's talk about why love was so dangerous for these queens. In medieval Europe, a queen wasn't just a wife. She was a political pawn, a symbol of alliance. Her job was to produce heirs, smile at banquets, and keep her mouth shut. Falling in love? That was a diplomatic disaster. Take Margaret of Scotland, a 13th century queen whose story is straight out of a tragedy. Married to King Alexander III at age 11, she was a lonely teenager in a foreign court. She fell for a charming knight, a man who made her feel alive. But whispers of their flirtations reached the king's ears. The knight was banished, and Margaret? Confined to her chambers, humiliated, her reputation shredded. The stress broke her. She died at 34, a shadow of the vibrant girl she'd been. The court called it illness, but heartbreak was the real killer. It's gut-wrenching to think a young woman's life was destroyed over a crush. What's the harshest punishment you've seen for a moment of weakness? Let me know in the comments. But it wasn't just knights who spelled trouble. Sometimes queens fell for the wrong king. Enter Isabella of France, the she-wolf of the 14th century. Married to England's Edward II, she was stuck with a husband who preferred his male courtiers to her. Ouch. Isabella, beautiful and cunning, found solace with Roger Mortimer, a rebel lord with a vendetta. Their affair wasn't just personal, it was a revolution. They plotted to overthrow Edward, and they succeeded, making Isabella's son king while she and Mortimer ruled behind the scenes. But love made her reckless. Mortimer's arrogance alienated the nobles, and when her son grew up, he turned on them. Mortimer was executed, and Isabella was exiled to a remote castle, her power stripped. She went from queen to prisoner, all because she bet on love over loyalty. It's a wild twist. Do you think Isabella was a mastermind or a victim of her own heart? Drop your take below. Let's zoom out to see why these betrayals hit so hard. Medieval society was obsessed with honor, especially for women. A queen's virtue was the kingdom's virtue. If she strayed, it wasn't just gossip, it was treason. Courts were snake pits of spies and rivals waiting to pounce. Take Joan of Navarre, Queen of England in the early 15th century. She remarried after her first husband's death, choosing a dashing Breton duke named John. Big mistake. Her stepson, King Henry V, saw her new love as a threat to his throne. Rumors swirled that Joan was using witchcraft to seduce John and poison the king. Witchcraft. She was arrested, her lands seized, and she spent years in confinement. The charges were flimsy, but the damage was done. Joan's love for John cost her freedom and her legacy. It's chilling to think a queen could be toppled by mere rumors. Have you ever been judged unfairly for something you didn't do? Share your story in the comments. I'm all ears. Now, let's get to the punishments, the part that'll make you wince. When a queen was betrayed by love, the consequences were brutal, but carefully cloaked to avoid public scandal. Execution was rare. It was too messy for royalty. Instead, they used confinement, exile, or worse, public shaming. Consider Anne of Bohemia, Richard II's beloved queen in the 14th century. She was rumored to have flirted with a courtier, a minor indiscretion blown out of proportion by her enemies. Anne wasn't jailed, but she was paraded through court with her ladies whispering behind fans, her dignity in tatters. The stress of constant scrutiny weakened her, and she died young, childless, her name tainted. It's heartbreaking to think a queen's life could unravel over a rumor. Public shaming is no joke. Have you ever felt the sting of unfair gossip? Let me know below. But some queens faced darker fates. Let's travel to 15th century Hungary, where Elizabeth of Bosnia ruled as queen regent. After her husband's death, she fell in love with a nobleman, a move that enraged her daughter's suitors. Elizabeth was accused of plotting to marry her lover and seize the throne. The backlash was swift. Her own allies turned on her, and she was strangled in her castle by a rival faction. Strangled. Her daughter, the rightful queen, was forced to watch. It's a gut punch of a story, showing how love could spark not just betrayal, but outright murder. The image of a queen fighting for her life in her own home is haunting. What's the most shocking historical murder you've come across? Drop it in the comments. I need to hear this. Let's explore how religion made things even worse. The medieval church was the ultimate morality police, and queens were held to impossible standards. Adultery was a sin, sure, but for a queen, it was a crime against God and country. Take Catherine of Aragon, Henry VIII's first wife in the early 16th century. She didn't have an affair, but she was betrayed by Henry's love for Anne Boleyn. When she refused to step aside, Henry declared their marriage invalid, exiling her to a damp castle. Catherine, once England's darling, died alone, her health ruined, still signing letters as queen. Her faith kept her strong, but it couldn't save her from a broken heart. It's a stark reminder that even queens who stayed loyal could be crushed by someone else's love. Do you think Catherine deserved better? Share your thoughts below. Now, let's talk about the ripple effects. When a queen fell, her entire court felt the shockwaves. Ladies-in-waiting, servants, even children could be punished. Look at Margaret of Anjou, the fierce 15th century Queen of England during the Wars of the Roses. Her rumored affair with a duke fueled her enemies' propaganda, painting her as a traitor. Her son, a potential heir, was killed in battle, partly because her reputation weakened their cause. Margaret was imprisoned, her allies scattered, her legacy smeared. Love, or the rumor of it, didn't just destroy her. It tore her dynasty apart. It's a brutal lesson in how one misstep could topple an empire. Have you seen a single choice unravel everything for someone? Tell me about it in the comments. Let's shift to the cultural side. Medieval love stories weren't just gossip, they were warnings. Ballads and chronicles spread tales of fallen queens to teach women, stay pure or else. Yet, these stories also humanized queens, showing their struggles weren't so different from ours. They loved, they risked, they suffered. Take Guinevere, the legendary queen of Arthurian lore. While not historical, her story reflects real medieval fears. Her love for Lancelot doomed Camelot, and she ended her days in a nunnery, shunned. Whether myth or reality, these tales shaped how society viewed queens who dared to love. It's fascinating how stories can control culture, don't you think? What's a modern story that's shaped how you see the world? Drop it below. Now, let's look at why some queens survived betrayal. Not every love story ended in tragedy. Philippa of Hainault, Edward III's queen in the 14th century, was rumored to have flirted with a poet. Instead of punishment, Edward laughed it off, and Philippa's charm kept her adored. Why? She was a master diplomat, balancing love and duty. Her story shows that a queen's wit could sometimes outshine scandal. It's inspiring to think some women beat the odds, turning betrayal into strength. Who's the most resilient woman you know? Historical or personal? Share her story in the comments. I'd love to hear it. As we wrap up, let's reflect on what these stories mean today. Medieval queens like Eleanor, Isabella, and Margaret weren't just victims. They were women who dared to feel in a world that demanded perfection. Their betrayals, whether real or rumored, led to confinement, exile, even death. But they also left a legacy. They remind us that love is a risk, then and now, and that power doesn't shield you from pain. So next time you hear a love song or see a rom-com, think of these queens, whose hearts cost them everything. Here's your challenge. Share one lesson from their stories in the comments. Maybe it's about trust, loyalty, or resilience. I'm dying to know what you take away. And if this blew your mind, hit that like button, share this video with your history-loving friends, and subscribe for more jaw-dropping tales. Trust me, the next one's going to be even wilder. What's the most tragic love story you've ever heard? Drop it below, and let's keep this royal saga going.